Hey everyone, it's Kaki. Today we are making one of my favorite things in the world, sauerkraut. We'll be fermenting this and then enjoying the benefits of this gut health building, delicious, snackable, crunchy, salty, yummy, beautiful thing. Alright, so I've got a ton of cabbage. This is probably about 6 pounds or so, I'm guessing, maybe 5 pounds. I'm just gonna peel off these yucky outer layers. I always do this with cabbage. Just got like these 2 big leaves that cover everything off. Come on. And then we start cleaning with our fresh, tangled, fresh cabbage. This is organic cabbage. Definitely recommend getting organic cabbage for your sauerkraut. If you're not getting organic, you're putting all those pesticides, into your sauerkraut. And this is a delicious food, but also a health food. So highly recommend getting organic to begin with, just to boost the benefits. You also typically find higher nutritional value in organic foods and support local farms. So it's great. All right, so to start, I'm just going to slice this up. This is probably going to take a while, so I'll fast forward at some point. I like to do quarters, and then I just slice however thick or thin you want this. I'm doing maybe a 1/4 inch, between 1/8 and a 1/4 inch. Slice. It's nice to have slight irregularity in your cuts, just to provide a little extra texture. This is going to end up really crunchy. If you slice it really thin, I find it feels more soggy. And when you slice a little thicker, like this is kind of my ideal thickness right there. It ends up super crunchy. All right, I got this giant wooden bowl here, and I'm just gonna start building a cabbage pile in here. And I'll keep cutting. All right, so at this point I have a solid amount of cabbage. I'm just gonna spread it into an even-ish layer, and then I'm gonna start my salting. So I'm using this Pure Kona deep sea salt. I got it visiting Hawaii, and supposedly has like a lot of extra minerals in it. So I may as well boost the health benefit of this. Regular, just coaster salt is fine. Sea salt, whatever salt you want to use. Celtic sea salt would be great too. So I'm just gonna sprinkle. Basically the idea for salinity in sauerkraut is you want it to taste well seasoned. Like if you were just eating salted cabbage, sauerkraut requires the amount of salt that would taste like it's just well seasoned. So I should be using a scale, but my scale is out of battery, so I'm just eyeballing it. I've made sauerkraut enough times that I know exactly, pretty much I can taste to get to a 2 to 3% salinity. If you are using a scale, I would just put my bowl on the scale, zero it out, and start adding up the cabbage. Once all your cabbage is in here, take that weight and use your phone calculator to find between 2 and 3% salt by weight of the cabbage, and then add that much salt and mix it in. But since I know what that's gonna taste like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna keep chopping. I'm basically just gonna keep building these layers, get like a layer of cabbage in, and then salt it. And then another layer of cabbage and salt it, and then another, salt it. Just keep moving like that. Okay. More. I'd like to break it up. Oh, there's a little too much core in there for me. Put this in my discard pile. Okay, I kind of like to spread it out. It's just going to make my life easier in the long run. I'll do this last one. So this piece I just started chopping a little thinner, just going to provide more texture in my finished product. So again, the irregularity is actually really nice here. Okay. Alright, looks like I probably need a bigger bowl. But actually, once the salt kind of soaks into this and the cabbage, you know, marinates in this for a little bit, it's gonna shrink down a lot. So I'm gonna do another salt layer, and I'm like leaning lighter on the salt right now. And then once it's all, you know, kind of marinated in there, that'll be in about an hour actually. Then I'll taste it again and see. So the next step for sauerkraut is to massage all the salt into the cabbage. We're breaking down these cell walls, and the salt is infiltrating all this cabbage, and then it's going to release a lot of water, and that's going to be the liquid that is necessary to ferment the sauerkraut. So sauerkraut is a lacto fermentation where you're creating with salt the perfect environment for lactobacillus and other lactobacteria to thrive, which are really beneficial bacteria. And then it ferments the cabbage and ends up adding a lot of nutritional value to your cabbage without using heat. So all the original nutritional value is preserved. Sauerkraut's really good for your gut health because it's super rich in probiotics. It can help reduce inflammation, I believe. I know that gut health is basically the start of an entire holistic health. And I feel really good when I eat sauerkraut. So, I like to eat it a lot. And I'm making a giant batch because I will be sharing this with friends and family. So I only have 4 mason jars right there. So hopefully it fits. Otherwise I'll have to run out and buy some more. Massaging. All right, and you can see this has already lost a bit of volume just from massaging. So we're gonna let this sit right here. I'm gonna rinse my hands because we use a messy sink. Okay, and then I'm gonna add some onions and garlic. Garlic is super, super, super beneficial and good for you. And when you ferment garlic, again, it just amplifies all those properties that garlic has. It also just tastes really good in sauerkraut. So I like to add alliums, and these have some cold and flu fighting benefits, immune boosting benefits, especially once fermented. They're just really good for you. I'm sure you can Google and figure out how good they really are for you. Let's see, I'll do a cipollini onion and maybe just a regular yellow onion as well. All right, so I'll fast forward through this, but I'm just gonna chop up all this garlic and onions and then, lion garlic, and then add that to my sauerkraut. All right, so I've got all my onions sliced up. I just did a thin slice, about the same, if not a little bit thinner than the cabbage. Sprinkle these on. All right, my eyes are burning from chopping all these onions. All right, and then all my garlic, super rough chop. doesn't really matter. It's all getting fermented, so it's just gonna kind of collapse anyways. All the cell walls are gonna collapse and give up all their goodness for us. All right, so I'll do another little layer of salt right here. And it's been about 8 or 10 minutes since I massaged the cabbage last, so I'm gonna go in for another cabbage massage and mix all these onions in, start breaking down their cell walls as well. So I'm just squeezing, just giving it a little makeup on my wrist from wiping my onion tears. It's okay. It's just me and my family eating this. I don't care. Squeezing them to facilitate the breaking of all these cell walls. If you have plenty of time and you don't want to spend your time massaging, you can do a quick massage and just let the cabbage sit for like 30-40 minutes at a time out on the counter. That's also going to start cultivating all the bacteria and yeast that's present in the air already. Because again, we're creating the perfect environment. So we want to welcome those in. So don't worry about leaving this on the counter. It's going to ferment at room temp anyways. So don't worry about that. But we're just squeezing, and you can see the appearance is already different. You can see how the cell walls are starting to break down. You have these kind of darker or more transparent edges on the cabbage. And that's how you know you're doing it right. And this is also getting a lot juicier. So we ideally would like to end up with like a cup of liquid at the bottom. And it's best if you use fresh, super, super fresh cabbage with this. You don't want to use wilted cabbage because the cabbage is wilted because it's lost moisture content. We want really fresh cabbage, crunchy, super firm, because that's going to have the highest water content in there. And that way it'll give up the most liquid, which is pertinent in the fermentation. You need that liquid in there. All right, so that's another good massage. So at this point, I feel like everything is really well distributed, and I'm going to end up with making 2 batches. So I could use this cabbage as well. But right now is a good time to taste it. All right, so still crying from those onions. This is slightly under seasoned. It tastes like if I was eating this for lunch, it'd be very strong onion flavor, which is going to mellow out in the fermentation, so don't worry about it. But it's under seasoned. It needs more salt. Again, if you're using a scale, you can be super exact and you don't have to keep tasting and guessing. I guess I'm using this bag. Great. Okay, I'll mix this in again. And you can add any flavorings you want. A classic sauerkraut usually has like caraway seed in it. I just don't love that flavor that much. I really enjoy this kind of onion garlicky kraut. But whatever you want to add, I'll do. Any kind of allium is good. Even scallions are nice. Leeks are really, really yummy. I usually do leeks. I just didn't see any at the market today. I have this fennel right here. The fennel fronds would be really yummy in here. And you can also, add different flavors to different batches. You could do like a classic pickle kind of flavor and add some star anise and clove and cinnamon and dill maybe. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit again. See, it's losing volume every time I do a squish, so we'll watch it just keep compressing. Yeah, any kind of flavorings you like. Some black pepper is nice. You could do turmeric, anything you like. All right, so we'll be back in about 10 more minutes after this sits for a little. All right, so we've let this sit for a couple more minutes, and I'm going to add a little bit of my old batch of sauerkraut juice. So you can see that liquid in there. This has been fully fermented. I made this, 8 months to a year ago. Still good in the fridge. I eat a little bit almost every day. And now I'm running low, which is why I'm replenishing. So you do not need to add sauerkraut juice to this. It can totally ferment just with salt and your cabbage, totally no problem, but it will give it a little jump start. So if you have some raw sauerkraut in your fridge, you're welcome to use that. I think you can add, there's some other things you can add. I'm not sure, I've never tried anything else. I usually just do a little bit of my old sauerkraut. I actually will probably just add some of this in. Just add all that in. Then I can have this jar because I'm low on jars. So this, since it's already has all those, it's super rich in all these probiotics, it's just going to jumpstart everything else. So it can ferment a little bit faster. Oh, look, you can see a little, that was a little piece of fennel frond right here, just chopped on the perpendicular there. All right, so I'm going to massage this in now. You can think of adding a little bit of your old sauerkraut juice as a starter for this, just like a sourdough starter or something. It's just, or adding yeast to bread or whatever. It's just gonna help this all go faster. And then once I jar this up, it's going to sit in my cupboard, probably here in the kitchen, but wherever's like the warmest room in your house, but you don't want it to be in the light. So a dark place that's warm-ish. The warmer it is, the faster it's going to ferment. The colder it is, it's going to go slower. So sauerkraut, in the summer, I can ferment kraut in as little as 3 or 4 days. In the winter, right now it's mid-November, it's pretty cold. It can take, up to a couple weeks. You can ferment it as long or as short as you like. Just keep tasting it, and whenever the flavor is where you want it, then you stop it and you can just put it in the fridge to halt the fermentation. It will keep fermenting very, 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 very slowly in the fridge, but not enough to really noticeably change it. And then you store it in the fridge from there on out. I like mine pretty tart, so I go for a longer fermentation. The shorter the fermentation, the milder your kraut's going to be. The longer you do it, the more tart or sour it's going to be. And if you're doing multiple jars like this, you can stop them at different rates and then have a nice variety. All right, so you can see here, now I poured in some of the juice, but I'm also receiving a lot of juice. Looks like we're at a cup right now. And let's see where we're at on bowl level. Looks like it's almost as compact as it's gonna be. So I'll come back in a few more minutes for one last massage and then we'll pack the jars. All right, so I've added one more thin layer of kosher salt to this. It wasn't quite salty enough, and I'm just gonna mix that in and then we'll get packing. It's really important to hit between that 2 and 3% salinity. I believe you can go as low as 1.5, but I'm not 100% sure. You can look that up for yourself. But if you go above that, it can, if you get it too salty, especially if you're not using a scale, if it's too salty, it won't create the right environment and nothing will grow. And if it's not salty enough, you might have some bad stuff growing. You might find mold on it or whatever, yucky stuff. So if you ever are fermenting and you're in the fermentation process and you're checking your jars and you see, a red film on top or a white film or anything black, anything that looks funky, or if it smells gross, throw it away. Don't eat it. And your nose will tell you. I've had some fermentations go really, really wrong, and it smells like rotting garbage or worse. So I know I'm ready to pack my jars because I have a lot of liquid in here. And I don't see a lot of white. Most of this looks translucent. I don't know where these little stems are coming from. I don't want you in my craft. Right here, I can see a tiny bit of white on there. But for the most part, everything, all these cell walls are broken down. It tastes the right amount of salty. We're ready. I've also chopped up a little bit of, so much cabbage, fennel fronds right here. Now, I don't want this in all of my batches, so I'm just going to sprinkle it in some layers in one of the jars. All right, so it's important that you have clean, sanitized jars. Fermentations do not like any sort of chemicals or chlorinated or fluoridated, I think that's how you say it, water. So if your jar should be completely dry and no soap or anything. If it smells like your dish soap, give it a little rinse and let it air dry. No yucky stuff, just natural stuff. All right, so then we're gonna pack these jars. It's important that you pack them really hard. So I'm gonna squeeze out some liquid as I pack these. And then when I get about, I don't know, looks full-ish here, I'm gonna stick my hand in there, pack it down. If your hand doesn't fit in the jar, use a wooden spoon or like the back of a wooden spoon, like, you know, this or something. Round works best. But you really want to pack it down because if there's air in there, air is the devil for fermentation, oxygen. So you don't want any oxygen in there. I'm sure, you know, of course there's going to be a little bit, but we're doing our best to get oxygen out of this environment and basically just have our saltwater cabbage liquid brine instead. You want to leave a little bit of room on top because as this ferments, it creates gases and everything's going to expand and rise up. So this is as full as I want to pack it, so I don't have any jar explosions or overflowing. I have made ferments before where I packed it too high and I didn't check it every day, and it was in a really warm spot in my kitchen in the middle of summer, and it expanded so much it leaked through the lid and everything in my cabinet was covered in kraut juice, and it was really nasty and hard to clean up. So this is the right amount. We'll do this jar now. I think I'll do my fennel in here, so just gonna sprinkle in a little bit. There we go. Pack it down. Sprinkle. Yummy. Packing. Okay, a little more in here. A little more fennel. A little more of this. All right, and then looks like we probably got one more jar. So I'm leaving all this liquid in here because I'm going to top off each of these jars with a little bit of liquid. You want everything, for the most part, to be submerged, because if the liquid is covering all your cabbage, then it's not being exposed to oxygen. So because I'm leaving a little bit of room in the jar, that means there's some oxygen in there. And if you can get it all covered with liquid, then your environment is still going to be really happy. So we're creating little sauerkraut biomes basically within these jars. and creating little worlds for all of our yeast and bacteria, friendly yeast and bacteria. All right, so everything's packed down. I can't see, if you can see air bubbles, just keep on packing. You want to use a lot of pressure here, really hefty amount of pressure. So I don't see many air bubbles, maybe just little tiny ones. These all look great. They're really messy on the sides, but don't worry, I will clean them. All right, and then I'm just gonna pour some liquid into here. So this bowl is huge, okay. Just to cover. Oh my goodness. Huge bowl, short cabinet, okay. Oops. Finish it here. So I have some salt not dissolved in the bowl. Dissolve it slightly, but it's okay if some of it stays in there because I know the amount of salt is correct that I can taste on the cabbage. All right, bowl done. Rice cans. All right, and then I'm gonna use paper towels to wipe these just so I don't introduce anything too crazy like from my dish towels, like dish soap or cleaner or anything. Okay, let's give them a good wipe. Okay, and you want to make sure the rim of the jar is super clean. And you don't want any solids peeking out above this liquid line. So I'm going to use my paper towel, just kind of wipe here because if something's sticking out of the liquid, it can wreak havoc on everything that's inside the liquid. So we want to be really careful with that. So it's real messy. It's a messy process. Don't be afraid. It's fun. And it's really, really rewarding when you get to eat this homemade sauerkraut with local bacteria and yeast, the ones that you live among every day, and hopefully a local organic cabbage, and feel all the benefits of eating sauerkraut. All right. Yum. All right. So now we're just gonna lid these, and it should be pretty tight on there. And then I'm gonna stick them just in this cabinet somewhere. Let's see. Oops. Okay, find space in here. And then they're just gonna ferment like this once I lid this one in here, door closed. And then every day I'm gonna burp them, or every other day. So on mason jars, let's see. On mason jars, you have this really nice little button. If you can't push down, that means you need to burp it. If you can push on it, you don't need to burp it, but you can. As the gases and the pressure builds up in here, it'll make this not poppable. So to burp it, you literally just open it. If your sauerkraut is super active, you'll hear a little tss, like opening a soda bottle or something. And then you can also see on the sides when it's fermenting, little bubbles rising up. They almost look like carbonation. So you want to burp it every day again, like I said, so it doesn't explode. And then, you know, around day 3 or 4, you can start tasting it. If you see it's really active, let it go as long as you want. I will film me checking on this for the next couple days or week, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's ready. All right, so my kraut's here in the cupboard, and we'll check back in a couple days. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you love sauerkraut as much as I do. I hope you try it out for the first time. So good for you. Let me know how it makes you feel. Let me know how you like eating it, what you like eating it on, and like, comment, subscribe, and live, laugh, kraut. Hey everyone, it's Kaki. Sauerkraut. I eat a lot of sauerkraut, and if you have any questions, ask me in the comments.